The moment I walked into the velvet room, I felt danger move across the air like a slow, cold breath against my skin. I had been working here for 3 years, long enough to know when a storm was coming. But tonight, something felt different. Something felt aimed. The kind of quiet tension that makes the hair rise on the back of your neck before your mind even understands why. My name is Kathleen Reeves, and I have always been good at reading people. You have to be when you work in a hidden bar in New Orleans, where half the customers pay cash because they don't want anyone knowing they were here. But even with all my experience, nothing prepared me for the moment the Mafia boss walked in. Everyone shifted, not by moving away from him. No one was stupid enough for that. They shifted by lowering their eyes, dropping their voices, pretending they weren't watching him while watching him at the edge of their sight. Power has a sound, and when Bernard Halt entered the velvet room, even the old jazz bass seemed to change tempo, like it was playing for him alone. I was behind the bar polishing a glass when he took his usual seat. Same chair, same time, same order. A whiskey neat. He never looked at me, never said a word. He treated me like part of the bar, the same way he treated the shelves or the lights. A thing that existed, nothing more. But tonight, I needed him to see me. Before he sat down, I had noticed 3 men in the corner. Men trying too hard to look relaxed. Men with coats, still buttoned even though the basement was warm. Men whose eyes were locked on Bernard like hunters waiting for the right second to strike. Their hands stayed under the table. Their shoulders didn't move with the music. Their eyes didn't wander. Every instinct in me screamed that they were here for him. Bernard sat down, expression calm as ever, and I placed his whiskey in front of him. The amber light glowed against the glass, but I barely saw it. My pulse hammered so loud I thought he might hear it. I leaned forward like I was wiping the counter and whispered so softly even the air barely heard me. "Gunmen are watching you from that table. Don't look at me." I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. If he reacted, we were both dead. But Bernard didn't lift his gaze. Not an inch. Not a twitch. He only tapped his finger once against the glass. A small sign. A silent message. He heard me. He believed me. He understood. I moved away from him slowly, forcing myself to look casual as I served the next customer. Inside, my stomach twisted like it was tied in knots. Every time I glanced at the reflection in the liquor bottles, I saw the men still watching him. Still waiting. Still planning. Minutes passed like they were hours. The music continued. People talked. No one else saw what I saw. No one else knew Death was sitting in the corner wearing a cheap jacket and staring at a Mafia boss with the patience of a vulture. Bernard finished his drink, left money on the counter, and stood. Calm, slow, controlled. Like he was walking to the restroom instead of toward a back exit that led to the alley. He didn't look back. He didn't change pace. He moved like a man who understood that sudden movements could get you killed. The moment he stepped out of sight, one of the gunmen rose. That was when I made a choice that changed my life. I dropped a glass. Hard. The crash rang through the bar. Everyone looked at me, even if only for a second. But a second was all Bernard needed. He slipped through the back exit. The gunman hesitated, confused. Then the other 2 moved, splitting up, one heading for the front door, one following Bernard. A faint sound came from outside, too soft for most people to notice, but I knew that sound. A gun with a silencer. A warning shot. A missed opportunity. Or maybe a message. The gunmen rushed out. They came back minutes later with frustration carved into their faces. They scanned the room, and when their eyes hit me, a chill ran through my shoulders. They knew someone had interfered. They just didn't know who. Not yet. They left without a word, and I kept working until closing. But nothing felt normal. My hands moved. My body worked. But my mind kept replaying the moment I whispered to him. The moment I realized I had crossed a line no bartender should ever cross. I had saved a Mafia boss. And I had no idea what that meant for me. 3 days later, when I opened the register, there was an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a silver ring with a spiral snake symbol and a note in sharp handwriting. "You did well. Never turn your back to the mirror." My heart thudded once. Hard. Bernard Halt knew my name now, and someone else knew it too. Whatever world I had stepped into that night, I could feel it pulling me in deeper, and there was no going back. 3 nights later, I felt him before I saw him. It was strange how a person could change the air without making a sound, but Bernard Halt did. When he stepped into the velvet room, the atmosphere shifted like gravity moved around him. Only this time, the reason my pulse jumped wasn't fear. It was something else I couldn't name yet. I poured his whiskey before he even reached the bar. My hands were steady, but inside, I felt like someone had placed a live wire under my ribs. He took his seat, and while I studied the drink I placed in front of him, I could feel his eyes on me. For the first time, he looked at me. Really looked. "You returned," I said softly. "I pay my debts," he answered. His voice was deep and smooth, like dark velvet with something dangerous woven under the surface. He wasn't thanking me, but acknowledging something heavier. Something that tied us together now, whether we wanted it or not. I leaned closer, speaking low so no one else would hear. "The men who watched you, they've been back. Asking questions. About you, about me." His jaw tightened, but not in anger at me. Something colder moved over his face. "Purpose, calculation. Names have power," he said. "I have never asked for yours. You have never asked for mine. That changes tonight." He reached his hand across the bar. A simple gesture, but it felt like stepping off a cliff. "Bernard, halt." I stared at his hand for half a second before placing mine in it. His grip was warm, firm, controlled. Not crushing, respectful. That surprised me more than anything. "Kathleen Reeves," I said. The moment our hands separated, the ground beneath my life shifted, just enough for me to feel it. "Grayson's men," he said. "They will not stop, not now that you've helped me." "What happens now?" I asked. His eyes held mine, calm, certain. "Now I make sure no one ever watches either of us again." Those words stuck in my head all night. They followed me home. They followed me into sleep. When morning came, nothing felt normal anymore. My apartment seemed too quiet, too open, too easy to get into. I checked the locks twice, looked out the window 4 times. Every sound made me turn my head. By the time I walked to campus for class, I felt eyes on me. Not imagined ones, real ones. That's when I saw it. A black sedan half a block down. Windows tinted past anything legal. Engine running even though the car didn't move. The driver looked straight ahead, but I could feel the attention pinned on me. I changed my route, heart pounding. Used back alleys. Cut through 2 parking lots. I didn't go home. I went straight to work, slipping through the side entrance. Pike, the bar owner, pulled me aside before the doors opened. "2 men came looking for you today," he said. "Not cops, not friends." My throat tightened. "Did you tell them anything?" Quote. He gave me a tired look. "I told them you're a student who makes tips and minds her own business." His voice softened, something I had never seen from him. "Whatever you're caught in, girl, be careful. I've buried enough staff in my lifetime." His warning hit deeper than I expected. Hours later, just after midnight, the crowd thinned. That's when she walked in. A woman in a perfect black dress. Sharp eyes, smooth movements. Confidence that came from power, not beauty. She didn't look like someone who ever paid her own tab. She ordered a martini, took 1 sip, and then slid a card across the counter. "Mr. Halt requires your presence tomorrow evening," she said. 7 o'clock. Formal attire. Bring the ring." Then she left her full drink behind and walked out without waiting for a reply. I stared at the card. Halt International Investments. Garden District address. A world away from dim lights, smoke, and cheap whiskey. Pike appeared beside me. "That's Juliet," he said quietly. "His right hand. If she came here personally, you might be lucky. Or unlucky. Depends on how you look at it." "You know Bernard Halt?" I asked, shocked. Pike gave a dry laugh. "Everyone in New Orleans knows Holt. Some just pretend they don't." He walked away before I could ask anything else. My mind spiraled with questions. Why did Bernard want me there? What was the ring really for? Why was Juliet watching me like she was deciding whether I was useful or disposable? The next evening, when the taxi stopped in front of Bernard's mansion, my breath caught. The place looked like something out of another world. White pillars, iron gates, guards disguised as staff, security thicker than the walls. The butler opened the door and bowed slightly. "Ms. Reeves." "Mr. Halt is waiting in the library." I followed him through long hallways filled with art worth more than my future student loans. The library doors opened. Bernard stood by the tall windows, facing the sunset. He didn't look like a kingpin here. He looked like a man who owned every room he walked into without trying. "Thank you for coming," he said. His eyes met mine with a look that told me nothing in my life would ever be the same again. The library felt like a world built to swallow secrets. The walls were lined with tall shelves, the air warm with wood and old books. But my skin prickled with tension the moment I stepped inside. Bernard stood there in the golden light, calm and unreadable, while Juliet waited in the corner with a tablet in her hand, like a soldier disguised in silk. "Show her," Bernard said. Juliet walked toward me and turned the tablet around. My breath caught in my throat. There were pictures of me, walking to class, leaving my apartment, opening the bar, buying groceries, even sitting on a bench reading between shifts. 5 different men watching me from different angles. Some wore jackets that hid weapons. Some pretended to be ordinary people. But none of them were ordinary. They were Grayson's men. "They've been tracking you for 4 days," Bernard said. "Not to harm you yet. They want to understand your routine, your weak points, the moments when you are alone." Something inside me unraveled as I stared at the evidence. My world wasn't just shaken anymore. It was exposed, violated. Nothing was mine, not even my steps. "Why am I here instead of running?" I whispered. Bernard poured whiskey into 3 glasses. His movements were slow, deliberate, like he was giving me time to breathe. "Running keeps you alive," he said. "But it keeps you vulnerable. You deserve more than fear every time you walk down the street." He set a glass in front of me. His hand brushed the table, but not me. Still, the closeness felt like fire. "I'm offering you 2 choices," he said. "Both are extreme. I don't pretend otherwise." My heart thudded. "What choices?" Juliet handed me a folder. When I opened it, my entire life flipped like a page. A new identity, passport, bank accounts with more money than I would earn in a decade, a house deed in a quiet town far away. Everything ready. "You disappear," Bernard said. "Tonight. This solves everything. Grayson will chase a ghost while you build a new life somewhere safe." "And the second option?" I asked. His eyes held mine with a weight that made my breath slow. "You stay." Juliet spoke next, her tone crisp, professional. "You work for Mr. Halt, officially, a role made specifically for you. Observation, discretion, reading a room without being seen, skills you already have." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt impossible. "I'm just a bartender," I said. Bernard stepped closer, slow and steady, the way a man moves when he doesn't want to startle something fragile. "You are the reason I'm alive," he said. "You saw what no one else did, and you had the courage to act. Most people freeze. You didn't." His voice softened, not gentle, but sincere. "That is not something I can buy or train. That is instinct, and instinct like yours is rare." My chest tightened. No one had ever spoken about me like I mattered beyond my small circle of life. No one had ever seen what I saw as anything more than survival. "What would staying look like?" I asked. Juliet answered with her cool precision. "Apartment in a secure building, full protection, tuition paid for your degree, a salary large enough to rebuild your future, combat training, tactical training, everything you need to stay alive." "What about the Velvet Room?" Bernard's voice dropped. "You keep working there. It's your cover. And the place where people speak freely around you, that makes it invaluable." I closed the folder slowly, my fingers trembling. Escape, or evolution. I want conditions, I said. Juliet's eyebrows lifted slightly. Bernard's expression didn't move at all. I finish my degree no matter what. I keep my job at the Velvet Room. And I start training immediately. If I'm staying in this world, I refuse to be helpless. For the first time, something flickered in Bernard's eyes. Approval. Agreed, he said. Before I could breathe in relief, a sharp knock sounded at the door. The butler entered, face tense. Mr. Halt, we have confirmation. Grayson's men are moving toward Ms. Reeves's apartment, heavily armed. The room fell silent. Ice shot through my stomach. They know where I live, I whispered. They knew hours ago, Bernard said. They intended to take you tonight. How? I asked. How did they know I was here? We have a leak, Juliet said. Her voice was flat, but anger simmered beneath it. Bernard's jaw hardened. Not fear, fury. Someone close to me betrayed us. His gaze swept the room, then landed on me. Come with me! Now. He placed his hand on the small of my back, firm, guiding, protective, and led me toward a hidden door behind one of the bookshelves. The moment the door closed, the world I knew disappeared. Behind the mansion's warmth lay a stairwell of stone, cold and dark. A different world. His real world. We rushed down into an underground garage, where armored SUVs waited with engines running. Your training starts now, Bernard said as he opened the car door for me, his eyes locked on mine. I got inside because at that point, there was no safe choice left. But also because something in his voice made me trust him more than I trusted anyone else. And that terrified me more than the danger outside. The SUV door closed behind me with a heavy thud, sealing me inside a world I couldn't escape now, even if I wanted to. The engine's vibration hummed beneath my feet as Bernard slid into the seat beside me. He didn't look afraid. He looked focused, cold, calculating, like a man who had faced death before and learned to stare back at it without blinking. Seatbelt, he said. I clicked it into place. My fingers trembled, but only a little. I didn't want him to see how scared I really was. Not now. Not after everything. The convoy rolled forward, and the moment the garage gate opened, the radio crackled with updates from his security team. Grayson's men had reached my apartment. They were inside. They had torn through my things, searched my closets, overturned my drawers. Hearing it made my chest ache in a strange, hollow way. My apartment, I whispered. Bernard looked at me with something that almost resembled understanding. A place can be rebuilt, he said. Your life cannot. I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice not to crack. The night blurred into the next morning as we reached his compound on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. It wasn't a house. It was a fortress. Fences, guards, cameras, a security gate taller than anything I'd ever seen. This place was built for war. Over the next 3 weeks, my life transformed so fast that my old self felt like someone I used to know. I woke at sunrise, trained with former military operatives, learned how to defend myself, how to disarm someone twice my size, how to shoot, how to read a room faster than before, how to survive. At night, Bernard taught me different lessons. Chess, strategy, power, how the world really worked in shadows no one saw. We would sit in his study, the soft glow of amber lamps lighting the room as he explained how information could be deadlier than bullets. Violence is loud, he told me, but information kills quietly. I didn't know what our relationship was then. Mentor and student, protector and protected, two people thrown into the same storm. But there were moments, small ones, when the world narrowed to just us, to the way he watched me think, or the way I caught him studying me like he was trying to understand something inside me even he couldn't name. One morning, Juliet walked into the training room with her tablet in hand. Update, she said. Grayson's operations have gone silent. Bernard didn't relax. He only frowned. Silence means preparation, he said, not retreat. He turned to me. It's time for you to go back to the Velvet Room. My stomach tightened. Tonight? Tonight, he said. "With security near you, invisible unless needed." I nodded, even though my insides twisted. This wasn't the same bar I left. And I wasn't the same woman who worked there. When Pike saw me step behind the counter again, he gave a small nod. Nothing more. But it meant something. Maybe even everything. Hours passed before anything felt off. Then a man walked in. Completely average, neutral, forgettable in the most dangerous way. He sat at the bar's corner, ordered a scotch, smiled politely. But his eyes were wrong. Too sharp, too focused, too cold. "Enjoying your night?" I asked, my voice calm even though my pulse jumped. "More than expected," he said. "And more than you will, unless you listen carefully." My whole body went still. "Mr. Grayson admires loyalty," he continued, "even disloyal loyalty. So he has a simple request." He slid a phone across the counter. "Bring him information about Mr. Halt's waterfront development, or your family in Baton Rouge becomes part of a tragedy." My heart stopped. My mom, my little brother, my aunt. I held the bar to steady myself. "I don't know anything about that," I said. The man smiled gently, like he was offering comfort instead of threats. "You have 3 days to learn." Then he left. I didn't breathe again until Pike locked the doors for the night. I pressed the emergency signal on my watch, and within minutes Bernard's car arrived. Back at the compound, I told him everything. Every word. Every detail. Juliet pulled up surveillance footage. Bernard's eyes darkened when I said, "My family." "They're already being relocated," he said. "They'll be safe within the hour." Relief hit so hard my legs weakened. Then anger followed. "You let Grayson find them," I said. Bernard didn't deny it. "I knew he would," he said. "That's why they were protected before he even made the threat." It wasn't comfort, not completely, but part of me understood. In his world, every threat was predictable. Every weakness had to be prepared for. We spent the next day planning a trap. They wanted fake development plans. We gave them exactly what they needed. False blueprints leading them into a controlled setup. At midnight, the burner phone rang. "Bring the documents to Harbor Road," Grayson said himself. "Come alone." When I arrived at the abandoned fish plant, the wind cut through the broken windows like knives. 3 men stepped out of the dark. Their guns weren't drawn yet, but they didn't need to be. I gave them the portfolio, played my part, acted scared, let them think they were winning. But then the sound came. Helicopter blades, security lights, the sharp commands of Bernard's tactical team. Everything exploded into controlled chaos as Bernard's people stormed the building. I ducked, moved exactly as trained, tased the man reaching for his gun, and sprinted to extraction. Hours later, Grayson was in custody, his entire network exposed. His accounts seized, his leverage gone. At sunrise, I stood on the balcony of Bernard's study overlooking the lake. He joined me, silent at first. "You did well," he said quietly. I turned to him. "What happens now?" "Now," he said, "your family goes home, you take your place. And we rebuild without looking over our shoulders." 2 months later, Bernard sat at the bar in the Velvet Room, back where everything started. The room glowed softly, jazz playing in the background. I poured his whiskey and set it in front of him. Pike walked over with an envelope and grunted. "Bar's yours now, kid. I'm retiring." I opened it. Ownership papers, my name on them. I looked at Bernard, shocked. "He made the choice," Bernard said. "I only made sure he could afford to walk away." I looked around the bar, the place that changed everything, the place where a whisper turned my life upside down. "To new beginnings," Bernard said, raising his glass. I raised mine. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was stepping off a cliff. I felt like I was stepping into something that had been waiting for me all along.